And now, the time has come for your host, DJ Jenilyn. Secret Files. My one significant mistake will impact me for the rest of my life. I've been planning to share my story and thinking about it for the past 6 months. I've only just found the courage to share my secret file. My name is Patricia, and I met my first love 10 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. His name was Larry. He was charming and very active, both in class and in extracurricular activities. However, he had a feminine demeanor. We were classmates, and Larry was everyone's friend. Meanwhile, I was shy, reserved, and often alone. I wasn't very friendly back then and kept to myself, quietly observing him from afar, until one day, when I became friends with his close friends. Eventually, his friends discovered that I had a crush on him. I was so shy back then, especially when they constantly teased me about him, and he even got involved. Soon, we started texting each other, and he eventually got me to admit my feelings for him. Even though I never admitted it, word spread throughout our class. From then on, things between us continued in that way. He never openly said he was flirting, but he made an effort to get my attention. Until March 2011, our school hosted an event where the Drum and Lyre members performed in a parade. After the parade, my friend and I went to the bathroom. When I came out of the bathroom, I was surprised to see him waiting for me outside. He then insisted that I answer him. I was confused at the time because, despite his efforts, he never directly said he was trying to flirt. He teased me, saying he wouldn't let me back into the room until I gave him an answer. So, I said yes, and that's how our relationship began. After graduating, we both enrolled in college at the same school where we had attended high school. During our first year in college, we weren't classmates, but everything was fine, and there were no issues. Later, we ended up taking the same courses. By the time we reached our 3rd and 4th years, our relationship had become much more serious. Since we were classmates, we were always together. Over time, our families on both sides grew close as well. However, there came a time when my parents lost their jobs, and eventually, they divorced. Larry's family stood by my side, offering unwavering support and help in every way they could. I promised myself that I would repay their kindness. Above all, I vowed to make them proud, especially Larry and his mom. Larry and I have been through so much together, sharing both joys and challenges. Through it all, he was my partner, my anchor, and my everything. I even made a solemn promise to myself that I would never marry anyone else, only him. After we graduated, we applied for jobs in the hotel industry. Fortunately, we were both accepted, but at different hotels. At first, we were happy, and he would often pick me up. We always made time for each other and loved each other deeply. In 2017, I became close to a colleague at work named Joseph. During our night shifts, we would often talk and share jokes. I still don't know how our joke turned into reality. It took me a while to realize that Joseph and I had become lovers. I don't know when we started dating, since there was no courtship, but he was sure we were. I was confused at the time and decided not to tell Larry, fearing it would hurt him. I couldn't bring myself to tell Joseph that I had a boyfriend of 6 years, fearing it would only add to the burden of his feelings. He came from a broken family, endured a difficult childhood, and faced countless challenges throughout his life. He was deeply broken, filled with hatred for everyone, and skeptical of kindness. Despite this, he was incapable of hurting others. His outlook was clouded with negativity, and above all, he didn't believe in God. I stayed in my relationship with Larry, believing that whatever was between Joseph and me would eventually fade. But Joseph began to take things seriously, and I was torn. I loved Larry deeply and didn't know what to do. He was my world, but I was so afraid of hurting Joseph, afraid of what might happen to him if I were to tell him the truth. Until one day, Joseph came to me while I was with Larry. It was the most painful moment of my life, the day he stood before me and asked me to choose between them. In my heart, I knew Larry was my everything, my world, my life. But in that moment, I made the greatest mistake of my life. I chose Joseph over Larry. I was terrified of what might happen to Joseph if I hurt him. He seemed like someone who needed saving. But more than anything, I was afraid of what he might do to Larry or to me. He always told me he was willing to kill me or anyone if they hurt him. He said he had nothing to lose, and he'd been waiting for a reason to unleash his anger on the world. It broke my heart to see Larry in pain, but I still chose Joseph. Fear controlled me, fear for my life, fear of what Joseph might do. I stayed with him, caught between a desperate hope to save him and the terror of what he could become. For 3 years, I endured countless hardships, all in the hope of regaining Joseph's trust. He caused me deep emotional pain, and on some occasions, even physical harm. Each day felt like a battle, a relentless struggle that made every moment unbearable. It's a stark contrast to the love and happiness that Larry brought into my life for 6 years. I think about him every day, and my feelings for him have never faded. But I couldn't return to him, haunted by the fear of how his family would react and the possibility that he might no longer love me. Above all, I was paralyzed by my fear of Joseph. I became a prisoner to my own emotions, trapped in a life I didn't choose. Now, after 3 years with Joseph, he has changed somewhat. I've also learned to care for him, or perhaps I've simply become accustomed to being with him. But despite all of this, I was never truly happy. He is my happiness. He is my everything. I constantly blame myself and find myself in tears whenever I think of him. Despite everything, I will keep my promise. I won't marry anyone if it's not for him. He's engaged and getting married in a few months. I'm trying to be happy for him, but it hurts so much. I know I have my own part in this, but it's hard to accept that I'll lose my chance with him while he finds happiness with someone else. I wish I were the one he was marrying. It hurts so much to think that one mistake I made will haunt me for the rest of my life. He's my dream, but now I feel hopeless. We have no chance of getting back together. I don't know if I can forgive myself or if I can move on with my life. So, Larry, congratulations. Thank you for the 6 years you gave me. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused. I know the hurt was beyond imaginable, and sorry will never be enough. But I will continue to love you, and I will always pray to God for your happiness. To Larry's family, I'm sorry for the pain I caused, and I hope that one day you can forgive me. I regret that, because of a mistake I made, I lost the chance to make things right with you, and I will carry that regret for the rest of my life. Because I lost not only Larry, but an entire family who took care of me and served as my guide for 6 years, I miss you so much, Larry. So, this is where my story ends. Again, I am Patricia, and these are my secret files.